out, and now Lost and Liyue have lost their swing match advantage.
We gather today to see
Yeah,
which
definitely. So this is looking like a very,
bandits
very intense series here.
lead
Lost and Liyue, they've got to
These
figure
men
something
who
out
else have
because
a
they are
right
now
to
on
call
match point. They're one
themselves
loss
true
away from being knocked out of this tournament. Up number one, the One Shot Frogs taking that third game victory on Asherman's Call. They switched to that Rogue Mage and have been able to make it happen 2 games in a row. We're going to take a look at that replay as well from this third game here, Sid.
Cubsy and Flop just had a really good positioning. And, like, Jay was trying to get aggressive, but it's too late. And I think at this point in dampening, like, Casca has 0 mana, can't heal you. So when you're running into the map, you're dying to the mage. And you can't really even cross the map. It's just so incoherent that you can raise, play more aggressive, get rounds going through. Assassination Arcane is one of the most ultimate damper comps in the history of the game. Trying to out-damp it, I don't think it's going to work. And like, he gets a Tyrant out here at the last second, but when you're that low in Barrage execute range, like Casca 0 mana, like you're just not moving anymore at that point in the game. It's also unfortunate, like J-Wob void shifted earlier and the game wasn't long enough that he could see a second one. Because if he had that, maybe that could have been enough. Maybe the Tyrant gets pressure out. Like Weltman's got no cloak. Look how close they were to killing him at this point when he's behind the pillar. Gets triple evasion. It felt like there was a few moments where offensively they were getting pressure. It's just not enough CC on the Druid for them to be able to ultimately finish the game. And it's these drinks that Flops is sneaking in the middle of the game. Just getting 1 or 2 ticks every time they're moving around the map. Sit down for a little sip. All right, sit down. Look now, he's about to win the game. He's sitting for a drink. Like,
yeah,
just anytime there's a chance to drink, Flops taking a drink here. So yeah,
Yeah, hydration check in the chat, everyone. Just, you know, follow Flop's lead because certainly is getting them some W's today. And we're going to be heading to potentially our last match of this series. We'll see if Lost and Liyue does end up changing their composition. I don't know about you, Sid. I'm kind of surprised just knowing these players and the type of vibe that they usually approach these types of tournaments in. I'm surprised that they're not trying something new. It seems like they are the type of people that would be okay kind of switching things up.
Yeah, I mean, they put a lot of practice, and I think they're just expecting on paper, like, Teemo Lock good into Rogue, Resto Shaman mana good, we can beat Druid, Shadow Priest is tanky and has Master Spell. Like, on paper, it makes sense. Like, this comp, you would think would be able to win, but the way Super One-Shot Frogs are playing it, like, if Super One-Shot Frogs were playing for CC and playing aggressive and not drinking, they'd lose, 100%. But they're staying far away and just resetting and just dragging the fight on, and it's just not working for them because of it. So Lost and Liyue, they're going a different direction now, at least in terms of maps. They're going to go to a small map. I think that's a lot better.
Victory lies ahead.
You out-mana the Druid if the Druid doesn't drink. So play a map and play a strat that doesn't let the Druid drink, and you will out-mana the Druid. Playing a big map, staying back, and letting the Druid drink, you're not going to win. So Super One-Shot Frogs might change their comp, but no, they're going to stick with the same, I guess, until there's a secured answer. And now, are they going to play jungle? They're bringing in Cyfoxy for the first time on broadcast. It's the last game, potentially eliminated from the tournament. That's a lot of pressure to put on somebody in the final game. Or maybe they play the same comp, but way more aggressive strategy on top of their opponents. Or they bring in Hunter Shadow Priest. It's kind of like a clutch pick. It's popped up a few times in the past. Like, Hunter Shadow Priest is a lot of CC, and a lot of purge, and a really good mage killing comp. So I could see it working. And if you're on survival, you also get the Mending Bandage to remove the bleeds of the rogue. It might be a decent answer. They're taking their time here on the clock. They just played 2 brutally long games as well. I would only imagine that they're somewhat demoralized from both of those defeats, especially, you know, maybe how close they were to getting a kill a couple of times in each of these games. So I think a reset moment, honestly, here before going into the sewers for their final game.
Yeah, I think especially when they're that long and you're that close, it's got to be really frustrating. But yeah, I'm curious as well if we see Cyfoxy come out. You know, he's a long-term player of the AWC. We've seen him a lot, but not in recent seasons. So does he come off the bench, or is he truly lost in Liyue? And it looks like we're unfortunately not going to be able to see him. But we are seeing Yas bring out the Hunter, Sid.
Yeah, BM Hunter, this is so much damage, and you get guaranteed damage on a mage. I really think this is a good pick into an arcane mage. The only downside is you're kind of squishy. You're not as tanky as a Demo Lock. You're not going to survive as long, but I don't think you want to play to survive. This is like a play to kill type of game. It's going to be a lot more guaranteed damage and really scary for Cubsy in a matchup like this. So I want to see all-out offense, just mash purge, maybe even the trank darts from the Hunter, just remove all of the HOTS, keep Cubsy constantly struggling to kind of post up and cast missiles, and just get crowd control on the Druid, and completely different playstyle I want to see from Lost and Leeway after the last 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of playstyle, you kept saying JY was playing kind of defensively. You wanted to see him play more offensively, and now they're playing a composition where that's pretty much required. I mean, if you're hyping this team up, if you're hyping up JY, what would you be saying to him right now?
I mean, you could play passively as this comp. You could just sit at the pillar and do damage with pets. It's definitely, they've done that. They've done that against me too. You could play passive. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's good in this specific matchup to do that. When you can out mana the other healer, but you could do that. But I don't think it's worth doing here. Just play aggressive, try and style on Cubsy a bit. Like, he's got to dodge a lot of crowd control. So he's got Shadow Word Death, which can break Polymorph if he times at the end of a cast. He's got Phase Shift, so when he activates Fade, he goes to immune to spells for about a half a second or a second and a half. So if he's pushing in with a sprint, whether it's from Power Shield or from like an Angelic Feather, and he gets that Phase Shift immune on a Poly or a Death on a Poly, and he immunes it, he gets in on top of the Druid and gets a Stun Fear, that's where it starts spiraling out of control for flop. So they just need to enable JWA. They could even use the Master's Call Freedom on him. Just get him sprinted and get him towards the Druid. Deliver the payload. JWA is the payload. Get him to the Druid, and I think you're going to be able to win.
Okay, let's see if they can do that. They've completely flipped the script here with this matchup. We're taking a little bit of time to get into this game, so I do wonder, maybe not actually, I do wonder if one of them used their delay timer, but that being said, we are getting into this game, potentially the last one of this matchup. We'll see if this is the trick, though, for Lost and Liyue. They're bringing out Yosc on that Hunter. Always great to see someone hop back onto their main comp or their main spec, something they're for sure known for. I mean, Yosc is a legend in the scene, hailing from the APAC region, now hopping over here. So we'll see what they do. We'll see if they can get this game and tie it up and take Super One-Shot Frogs to a game number 5, or Super One-Shot Frogs gonna close it out here on Dalaran Sid.
All right, Void Volley, not going to hit anybody. Earth Grab Totem, not going to hit anybody. So this means Wealthy Man and Cubsy can sneak in and get a sneak attack. Maybe Yosc hits a flare. Yosc is still in stealth with a camouflage. Here comes the flare. Oh, Wealthy Man gets pulled out of stealth, but Cascade gets Ring of Frosted anyways. Yosc is waiting for flop. He wants to go for a stun freezing trap as soon as possible. There's the stun. Does he land the trap? He lands the trap. Now they need to connect damage. They're going after Wealthy Man. I don't know if I like that. I mean, obviously the mage is going to spell steal,
Looks
but
like you
I
could
swear
all
Arcane
use
Mage
some
is super flimsy. The
resources.
BM Hunter, he uses Beast of Wrath.
There's a
Beast of Wrath not
saying for
removing
this.
the root on the pet.
Survival
Usually, break
of
your
the
pets out of roots with
fittest.
Beast of Wrath, so a little bit surprising to not see that be effective here. Earthenwall Totem down at the pillar. Roar of Sacrifice on the Arcane Burst can be really effective. They're attacking flop. It can be good. Just keep pressure. Look, you just get a bar skin randomly from the Hunter, tabbing to him for a moment. Now going back onto Wealthy Man. As Yosc is moving in, is he going to be able to land a Scatter Freezing Trap? Arcanosphere from downstairs here from Cubsy, a bit cheeky, knocks Yosc back with that Earthenwall Totem on the kidney. Good positioning from Casca. Flop is super defensive here. I really want to see Yosc and JWA start looking towards getting on top of flop. They get a stun. Where's the trap? Stun into trap. Oh, the trap was too late. He actually got a Tranquility to immune the freezing trap. Ring of Frost is not going to hit all the pets. Yosc, he's got to pull away. With no freezing trap on cooldown, they don't want to be in line of sight of the mage. He needs to get out of line of sight as soon as possible. He's going to pop his wall, but even with that wall, he's still down at half health. Void Torrent over onto the rogue, trying to pull back to the pillar, but that play from flop, the mistiming on the freezing trap, is really now putting Lost and Liyue behind. Is this going to be aspect of the turtle? He's got to be careful. He's got Trinket for Kidney Shot to break out into the turtle if he needs to. Sphere knocks him off the pillar. He tries to disengage back into it. We can line of sight the mage if he needs to. Now they're pushing back on the Cubsy. They've got Freezing Trap. Likely has Intimidation. His pet's in root, though. He needs to try and get his pets more freedoms here so they can get uptime onto their target. But it seems just really starting to get pressure. Maybe a Static Field Totem to pull the rogue off to the side could be good here. Kidney Shot, Roar of Sacrifice going to negate a lot of damage here with the Earthen Wall. They knock Yosc out of the Earthen Wall. Cubsy's getting insane knocks this game. Denying a lot of defense and good positioning with Blast Wave and Arcanosphere. Yosc lobs out. I think that was a root trap. Cubsy blinked and ate the root trap. But Yosc was kind of just baiting it, and Yosc just can't push any. It's a turtle. Cubsy's just soloing him, and there's not enough pressure right now. They are not getting enough crowd control on Flop to win the game like this. This is gonna get out of control quickly if they don't start getting control on Flop.
Yeah, this is looking really rough for them. Lost in Lihue. They went to a smaller map. They've changed up that composition, but so far, about 2.5 minutes into this, it's looking very, very scary for Lost in Lihue. He had to use Yosk, had to use his aspect of the turtle, his aspect of the turtle to stay alive, and he's gonna be okay for now. But I mean, it's just slowly coming out of control, like Sid already predicted. 20% health from Yosk. Hubry, however, a little bit of trouble too. He's still got Ice Block available to him if he wants it. Flop full on mana also. Just got out of that stun as well. But Jaywa, Yosk continuing to be chunked down in health. Just so much aggression, so much damage as well, coming from both Wealthy Man and Cubsy onto the enemy team here. This is not going well in their favor. They tried to change things up, but I wonder if they can make this work. I mean, they are facing elimination. If they lose here, they're out of the tournament for top number 1. This is a huge moment for Lost in Lihue. They want to prove themselves here, and this is their moment. But can they make it happen? Looks like they have recovered for now, but are they going to be stable enough to push it for another go onto Super One-Shot Frogs?
Nice kick on the Ring of Frost. Wealthy Man going to connect though with Kidney Shot. Another Ring of Frost being casted by Cubsy. Flop repositioning. He's down to half mana, but a triple Garrote. That's going to be a lot of pressure coming out from Wealthy Man onto all 3 members potentially of Lost and Lihue. They're trying to stay aggressive and trying to push towards the mage, but they're getting snared quite heavily by Wealthy Man. Wealthy Man going to get Lightning Lasso. Jaywa getting bursted down by Cubsy. Casca's got a lot of work and not a lot of cooldowns to do that work with. Yosk gets knocked off to the side. Ice Nova out of line of sight. Casca left behind. Jaywa left behind. Earthenwall's down, but Yosk is overextended now without his teammates. He scatters Flop, but he doesn't get the freezing trap. Now he's caught into a bash. They can swap to him for a moment. Ring of Fire cast onto 2 players of the team. Stun onto Flop. Jaywa needs to get in position for the fear, but he just can't get there. They can't deliver the payload, and if Flop is not crowd controlled, they're not going to be able to take down the target here, as they're desperately trying to make something happen on a Wealthy Man, but he's just going to tank damage with full hots. Everybody's dying. Ascendance comes up in 8 more seconds. Casca in a Spirit Link Totem. He knows they're in dire straits right now. He needs to get the team recovered and get them a little bit more offensive at this point in time, but Wealthy Man's controlling them so effectively. They need to spread out and separate from the rogue. They're just getting triple bled. They're not able to hit their target. They stun Wealthy Man. I do like these stuns, like a lasso on the rogue with a scatter or the trap on the druid or something like this could be a good way to win the game. And then in between, just pressure the mage with the BM Hunter. Arcane Surge, it's casted. Cubsy's free casting. Goss, no aspect of the turtle for 20 seconds. It's match point. Kidney Shot, he trinkets. He's in Earthenwall Totem. Is it going to be enough? He needs this trap. He gets the trap out of the stun, and they stun Wealthy Man. They need to blast him down right here and now. Lava Burst incoming from Casca. Flare to stop the vanish of Wealthy Man. Big pressure with that silence. This could be it. Can they finish it? Can they keep it to a game 5? No, Flop denies the kill again as he leaves crowd control, but that is the type of coordination that they need, although it might be 5 minutes too late for their team to be able to do anything with. He has to turtle immediately as soon as it comes off cooldown. Asper the Turtle is going back on cooldown. We see a life grip and a knockback from Cubsy. Flop repositioning. Flop has 0 mana, but Yosk has 0 cooldowns. How are they going to keep their team offensive to keep this advantage? They're trying to kill Wealthy Man. They need to connect this Lightning Lasso. Need like a grounding totem, no counter spell. If they can stun Wealthy Man and Flop at the same time, they can definitely still take him down in this position. Here's the stun on Wealthy Man. And it looks like it did get disrupted. Flop trinkets out, gets an Iron Bark, keeps his team aggressive, trying to stay towards Yosk. Flop's trying to drink. Is anyone going to be able to get there? The BM Hunter pet was moving towards it, but it looks like Yosk pulled it back for a second. Trap on Wealthy Man onto the pillar, but Flop is getting mana right now, and how much is actually the question. 40% mana. He was the same as Casca, and that might be the final nail in the coffin here for game 4.
Yeah, that was kind of something Sid was talking about earlier on in this game, that Dalaran Sewers was going to make it difficult for Flop to get a drink, but he was able to do so anyways. Wealthy Man about 20% health right now. He's got Death Mark available for him. Flop and Wealthy kind of hiding behind those boxes. Wealthy in a fear. That may have been their only chance to get him just now, moments ago. Wealthy so close to dying so many times throughout the series, honestly, as well as this game. Also, the Lost in Lihue have just been struggling making that final push happen here, and now they're really getting pummeled down throughout this entire game on the side of Lost in Lihue. I mean, we could say Jaywa, he's low in health. Yosk, he's about 50% health. He keeps just getting chunked down again and again. Casca absolutely 0 mana also. I mean, this just may be the end in a couple of moments here for Lost in Lihue. They need to turn it around in these next couple of moments, or I really do feel worry for their longevity within this game. Yosk does end up going down, and that is going to be a victory for Super One-Shot Frogs. 3-1. Lost in Lihue knocked out of the tournament, Sid.
They made that really difficult for Lost in Lihue to kind of get through the gauntlet. Wealthy Man was just constantly snaring them, shivving them, keeping them back, and preventing them from pursuing forward to be able to close out the game. I still think they were a little bit too passive. I feel like they had that one trap mishap at the start of the game where Tranquility immuned it, and then they just went full turtle mode for like 4 minutes after that. And I don't think that's going to work. I think the game was looking the most impressive when they're coordinating stuns. And they stun Flop and they stun Wealthy Man at the same time. That was the scariest moment for Super One-Shot Frogs. So like right here, they silence, and then they stun Wealthy Man, but it's discoordinated or miscoordinated. So he gets to sneak back, he gets to the pillar, and he gets to recover. So a little bit more offensive crowd control coordination, and I feel like they could have won this game if they're playing aggressive like this when Casca had mana is also another thing, so he can actually recover. Would be good for their team. They trade what they can, they try and stay aggressive, but they waited too long to start making these pushes, and Cubsy was just so annoying. Like that Arcanosphere knocking them back when they finally got to the pillar, and then Frost Noving them, and then repositioning and sneaking off out to the side. Like he was playing like a secret agent, just like totally dismantling anything that the other team was trying to do. There he knocks Jaywall off the side. Like he was a menace in this game. Like Cubsy was just a menace in this series as a whole.
Real. I mean, dude's kind of a menace in general, you know? He's a really strong player. He's been around the scene for so long. When he was a healer, he was a menace as well, and he's continuing that reign as a mage. So that's going to be a 3-1 of them, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. Very impressive performance by Cubsy, Wealthy Man, and Flop. That was just a slow chokehold in that series. JYoski and Casca just having a really difficult time getting anything going, and a large part of that is, like you all mentioned, Cubsy's positioning and just making it difficult for them to actually have any kind of effective targets to hit. But that does mean, unfortunately, the loss will really be eliminated. It was a solid game for them. It was cup number 1. Back to cup number 2. More prepared than ever. But stay alive. Last series of the day will be no answer against Luminosity. So really excited for this one. No answer. I'm not gonna lie, they had a very tough against that one-sided match so far this season. And unfortunately for them, Luminosity also plays the same composition. However, did not seem great. Plays a 7th success that Golden Guardians had against them. Luminosity Gaming seems to I feel like they're a fair shot here.
Luminosity Gaming. Isn't it funny that Dippy is like the Moonkin main? They're not playing Moonkin. They're not playing.
Everyone else is playing Moonkin.
Main Moonkin character is not playing Moonkin. And literally, Waz is playing Moonkin. Trev is not playing Moonkin.
Why do you think that is? I'm actually curious.
All the Moonkin players think Moonkin isn't that good, or not in these situations, and all the people who don't play Moonkin are like, this is so broken, you have to play a Moonkin. Like, it's like, what is going on? How do the people who main it not play it in this patch? It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, this could be a game where we do see here. I don't know if you really want to play Moonkin into Shadow Priest Rogue. I think it can be hard. It's really tanky. It has a lot of stops for like the crowd control, Spirit Walk, get a root beam, and massive other things for clone. Like, opened on me. Do I roll first? Do I try to roll first? Should I fort or should I fort? It seems like they just weren't comfortable at all.
For me to take a little too seriously.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, right? I don't know if it's permanent nerves or what. Or like, you have that kind of muscle memory you can laugh on. Because it did feel like that was not that serious. I don't think it was their best day or like a best day. No answer. Have to see what they do. For them, for no answer, obviously being a three-man roster is tough. They don't have that many options, and it's mostly just Demon Hunter, so their comp options are limited. Luminosity Gaming, the sky is the limit. I wouldn't seem to rally in such a long time, so this season, but yeah, we'll see what kind of answers they have there. We'll go to the break. When we get back, it will be our final series of the day, which is no answer, going up against Luminosity Gaming.
has many lucky doos you like. Good fortune to our friends.
The beauty of the Azure Span must be shared with my fans and others around the world.
Our team at Traitor's Rest were testing bombs when an all-out Null War broke loose. Our team at Traitor's Rest were testing bombs when an all-out
So you're going to come across Docker and Containerd many times going forward. So when you read older blogs or documentation pages, you'll see Docker mentioned along with Kubernetes. And when you read newer blogs, you'll see Containerd, and you'll wonder what the difference is between the two. And there are a few CLI tools like CTR, CRY control, or node control. And you'll wonder what are these CLI tools and which one should you be using. So that's what I'm going to explain in this video. So let's go back in time to the beginning of the container era, and in the beginning there was just Docker, and there were other tools like Rocket, but Docker's user experience made working with containers super simple, and hence Docker became the most dominant container tool. And then came Kubernetes to orchestrate Docker. So Kubernetes was built to orchestrate Docker specifically in the beginning. So Docker and Kubernetes were tightly coupled, and back then Kubernetes only worked with Docker and didn't support any other container solutions. And then Kubernetes grew in popularity as a container orchestrator, and now other container runtimes like Rocket wanted in. So Kubernetes users needed it to work with container runtimes that are other than just Docker. And so Kubernetes introduced an interface called Container Runtime Interface, or CRI. So CRI allowed any vendor to work as a container runtime for Kubernetes as long as they adhere to the OCI standards. So OCI stands for Open Container Initiative, and it consists of an image spec and a runtime spec. Image spec means the specifications on how an image should be built. So that's what it defined. An image spec defined the specifications on how an image should be built. And the runtime spec defined the standards on how any container runtime should be developed. So keeping these standards in mind, anyone can build a container runtime that can be used by anybody to work with Kubernetes. So that was the idea. So Rocket and other container runtimes that adhere to the OCI standards were now supported as container runtimes for Kubernetes via the CRI. However, Docker wasn't built to support the CRI standards. Because remember, Docker was built way before CRI was introduced, and Docker still was the dominant container tool used by most. So Kubernetes had to continue to support Docker as well. And so Kubernetes introduced what is known as Docker Shim, which was a hacky but temporary way to continue to support Docker outside of the container runtime interface. So while most other container runtimes worked through the CRI, Docker continued to work without it. So now you see, Docker isn't just a container runtime alone. Docker consists of multiple tools that are put together. For example, the Docker CLI, the Docker API, the build tools that help in building images. There was support for volumes, auth, security, and finally also the container runtime called runc, and the daemon that managed runc, and that was called as Containerd. So Containerd is CRI compatible and can work directly with Kubernetes as all other runtimes. So Containerd can be used as a runtime on its own, separate from Docker. So now you have Containerd as a separate runtime and Docker separately. So Kubernetes continued to maintain support for Docker engine directly. However, having to maintain the Docker shim was an unnecessary effort and added complications. So it was decided in version 1.24 release of Kubernetes to remove Docker shim completely, and so support for Docker was removed. But you see, all the images that were built before Docker was removed. So all the Docker images continue to work because Docker followed the image spec from the OCI standard. So all the images built by Docker follow the standard. So they continue to work with Containerd, but Docker itself was removed as a supported runtime from Kubernetes. So that's kind of the whole story. And now let's look into Containerd more specifically. So Containerd, although multiple tools that are put together, for example, the Docker CLI, the Docker API, the build tools that help in building images. There was support for volumes, auth, security, and finally also the container runtime called runc, and the daemon that managed runc, and that was called as Containerd. So Containerd is CRI compatible and can work directly with Kubernetes as all other runtimes. So Containerd can be used as a runtime on its own, separate from Docker. So now you have Containerd as a separate runtime and Docker separately. So Kubernetes continued to maintain support for Docker engine directly. However, having to maintain the Docker shim was an unnecessary effort and added complications. So it was decided in version 1.24 release of Kubernetes to remove Docker shim completely, and so support for Docker was removed. But you see all the images that were built before Docker was removed, so all the Docker images continue to work because Docker followed the image spec from the OCI standard. So all the images built by Docker follow the standard, so they continue to work with Containerd, but Docker itself was removed as a supported runtime from Kubernetes.
Begin! All you weaklings do is run around!
I'm out of breath.
All you weaklings do is run around! Finish him! Get in there and fight! Stop hiding! Get in there and fight! Stop hiding! All you weaklings do is run around! Yes! Yes! You fool me! You bore me. Yes! Yes! Get in there and fight! Stop hiding! Get in there and fight! Stop hiding! Get in there and fight! Stop hiding!
It is too far away.
All you weaklings do is run around! Get in there and fight! Stop hiding! You bore me! Finish him! You bore me! Yes! Yes! You bore me! Get in there and fight! Stop hiding! Finish him! Get in there and fight! Stop hiding!
So that's kind of the whole story. And now let's look into Container D more specifically. So Container D, although it's part of Docker, is a separate project on its own now and is a member of CNCF with the graduated status. So you can now install Container D on its own without having to install Docker itself. So if you don't really need Docker's other features, you could ideally just install Container D alone. So typically we ran containers using the docker run command when we had Docker, and if Docker isn't installed, then how do you run containers with just Container D?
team at Trader's Rest were testing bones when an all-out Gnoll War broke loose. Please rescue our people and the bone samples.
You dare to steal from my crucibles? I am coming for you, little worms. You will perish in flames!
Of the aspects. I require every last suffused ingot and molded metal for our bargain with Barak.
Until next we meet, your help is... A spring? Here?
gathered today to see which of these bandits, these goons, these ne'er-do-wells have the right to call themselves true Kultirans! Only the last one standing would have earned that honor. And this likely won't be a clean fight, so keep your distance, eh? Now, are we ready? This is a night for Kultiras!
I'm out of range.
Require every last suffused ingot and molded metal for our bargain with Barak. Do not let these interfere!
Welcome, welcome.
to aid you!
It's always good to meet someone new. Let's swap stories again soon. with you. Watch your back. See you soon. Safe travels. Great to meet you. See you soon. Watch your back. How are ya? Safe travels. What can I do for ya? Off with you. You got my attention. See you soon. What's on your mind? How are ya? Safe travels. Great to meet you. Watch your back. What's on your mind? You got my attention. What can I do for ya? Off with you. Aye. Safe travels. How are ya? What can I do for you? Watch your back. Aye, off with you. What's on your mind? You got my attention. See you soon. Great to meet you. Off with you. What can I do for you? Great to meet you. Watch your back. Aye, see you soon. How are ya? Safe travels. You got my attention. What's on your mind? What can I do for you? What's on your mind? You got my attention. Great to meet you. Hi, see you soon. How are ya? Off with you. You got my attention. What's on your mind? How are ya? Safe travels. What can I do for ya? Watch your back. Hi, see you soon. Great to meet you. Off with you. How are ya? Watch your back. What's on your mind? What can I do for ya? Great to meet you. Safe travels. Watch your back. Hi,